Hi, loves. Welcome to AW Confidential, where we talk resilience, reinvention, and the messy truth behind the big wins. And today we have a big win. Wow, do we have a big win? Today's guest is proof that sometimes losing everything is the universe's way of testing how bad you want it. When filmmaker Katelyn McCulloch lost her entire first film in a hard drive crash, she didn't quit. She grabbed 40 bucks, bought a pizza to fuel the team, borrowed gear, and remade the entire project from scratch. How's that for some shit? No offense. The $40 hustle became Everybody's Meg, a film making its debut on Trailer Park Boys Plus. Hi, Katie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I don't even know where to start. Like, the first question that came to mind when I was prepping was when everything disappeared with that hard drive crash. I want you to walk us into that moment. What was the voice in your head saying? And I know you're super animated because we spoke for a little bit, but please take because I know that that's a moment you'll never forget.
Mhm. It's always especially, I love being a filmmaker and the roles I take on as a director, as a showrunner is a leadership role. So when I reflect back on it, I'm like, whoa, that was a moment where I really feel like I stepped into my power as a leader. So yeah, I made the short film. Meg writes a reference letter with my two co-creators of Everybody's Meg, the series, Maddie Foley and Becky Swanick. And we just shot it for fun one day and then, yeah, lost it. Hard drive gone. And Becky, who is the editor and also shot it, was so upset. And in that moment, I got so incredibly calm, which I did
You
not
didn't
freak
lose
out,
your shit, like
not at all. And I lose my shit over all
cry.
kinds of, I cry over like so many other things, but something in me, I think because she was upset. And then we had like, the girl who stars in it, Maddie Foley. I feel like I stepped into this moment where I was like, I could lose it right now, but it doesn't bring the movie back. I could lose it right now, but it doesn't make anybody feel better. I could lose it right now, but am I going to just not make movies anymore? So I just said, that's all right. It was, we made that first version of it because we wanted to see more women in comedy, more women in leading roles, more female directors, writers, producers, editors, cinematographers. So I said, well, that was just our test drive. Let's do it again. And then Maddie actually, it was Maddie's 40 bucks on pizza that day. And we got together and we just reshot it and it went so much better because we got the practice in the first time. And I think that's what people forget in any business, but let's just speak to me as a filmmaker and creative. We always think like it's got to be perfect. You want the first draft. We were speaking about your book earlier. You want that first draft to be like, and look, it's done. I'm amazing. And it's just, you're giving yourself the hardest time. So I feel like the universe just went, that wasn't the one the world was meant to see. So let's do it again. And we fucking did it again.
So wait, so how did you go from like what made you choose action over defeat? What was that like one thing that you were like, no, that I'm turning that off. I'm going into action mode. Like what was it?
I definitely, since I was a little kid, have always had an insane drive, a confidence. I'm so grateful to my parents for always supporting me, believing in me. And I think in that moment, I just thought, well, if it's give up and not get the opportunity to make something, because we were making it because we all wanted an opportunity. This industry, the film industry, people are like, I just want someone to give me a shot. And I always say, think about it from a business perspective. Why would they give you a chance if you have no body of work? So I was building my body of work. This was my chance to show people what I was capable of. So I think in that moment, I just thought, this is that moment where I get to choose, do I give up or do I choose myself and choose? Also, I have to say the idea, I really believed in it so full heartedly. And I really believed that audiences needed to see it. It was something bigger than me, bigger than just like my own career. I was like, no, I think this has a palpable energy that can really make people laugh and make them feel something. So I just And this, I say it all now with hindsight, but it was such a split second thing. We just rescheduled and did it within a couple weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Woo! So you rebuild this whole project on 40 bucks and borrowed gear. What did that process teach you about creativity, resourcefulness, and even ego? Because I think your ego takes a huge hit. And I think your ego can be helpful sometimes. It can, but it can also hurt you. So what did this whole process teach you other than what you're capable of?
I love that question. I think that creativity loves restraint. I think that's one of the
Mm.
biggest things. I think, especially as my career is expanding, the projects are getting bigger. I'm always like, more money, more problems. Really and truly, more money doesn't make you more creative. A bigger gear kit, a longer script doesn't make you better. And I think there's lots of, fun things now. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get that piece of gear or that, those things as a director I want to play with. But I think in that moment, it really did teach me that creativity loves restraint. What can we do? How can we be the funniest we can possibly be with as few things as possible? And I think with that, it was just myself, Becky, and Maddie, two very talented women. We could have stopped and taken more time and looked elsewhere and said, who can teach us? Who can help us? But we actually said, no, what can we do together that nobody else can do? And I think people miss that moment, especially when you're problem solving. They can get so frustrated and lose their shit and feel, so hard done by. But I definitely believe in building the superpower of reframing. If you are in any leadership role, if you are creative, if for me, again, directing, writing, show running, if suddenly, we have the restraint of this one apartment, this one camera, I was running sound. I forgot to even like
What?
pause the sound. It just ran for 5 hours straight because I was doing a million things. I was producing it. But even with all of that, I think you can feel that in the short, and then therefore we made it into the short form TV series. That kind of scrappy, passionate, heartfelt energy shows up on screen, and I learned that in that process. It's not about being perfect, it's about being real. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in wanting it to be so polished, so advanced, so insert blank perfect is my word that I get caught up on. I'm definitely a perfectionist, but by it not going perfectly, it became exactly what it was meant to be and truly changed my life.
Ah, love hearing that. Did losing it all make you a better filmmaker? Would you say that?
A thousand
100%.
percent. 100%, because I think too, it's like, even when you get to the edit as a director and everybody's Meg as the short form digital series, I get into the edit and I go, I thought I had that. I thought I had that. And then I go, oh, wait, I remember we ran out of time, because you always go in with a plan and then you have to get creative on set. You're running out of time. You're losing an actor, whatever's happening. The sun is setting. Same in the edit. I go, okay, I don't have the thing I thought I needed, but what do I have? And how do I get as creative as possible with what's available to me? And I learned that the hard way. But I am really
Oh.
grateful for it.
Well, it's like you said, you have to get creative. You have to dig deeper. So I'm not surprised that you answered it that way. I now I have to ask. We touched on it a little bit. So I read that you went from aerial silks to film sets. I need you to share, how did that happen? Because, by the way, I did an aerial silks class. Holy shit.
Oh
Like,
my God.
that is hard. That is
Yes.
hard. So how do you
Yes.
go from A to Z? Because those are two different.
So different. But you know what? Again, it's so interesting. And as I look back, and I remember the time I started doing circus, aerial silks in particular, and I began my career as an actor, mostly doing theater. Then I think, as you're already discovering my personality, this won't be surprising. I got into a play and they said, can you do aerial silks? And I'd never climbed a silk. And I said, yes. Now I have a background as a dancer and a gymnast. So I have a lot of physical, you know, abilities. But the first time I climbed a silk, I could not climb the friggin' silk. I couldn't get off the ground. I went, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to, like, I'm committed to this thing and I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. And I trained and I worked my butt off. And it was so great because doing circus, it was about a decade of performing professionally. And it really supported me financially, creatively, physically while I was building up my acting career. Then that little thing, I don't know if you remember it, called the pandemic hit
Oh,
in
God.
2020.
Yes.
And I had this moment where everything stopped, all my performing, all the shows I had, everything paused. And I had always wanted to write film and do more. I'd dabbled, I'd always acted on film sets, but I was never satisfied. And then I joke, but it's true. During the pandemic, I put myself through my own self-inflicted film school. I applied how I learned circus to what I wanted to do with film. I went, I want to do that thing. So I got to train accordingly. I got to read the books. I got to put the hours in. And I definitely, of course, there's days I don't want to do it, but I was like, I don't know how to format a screenplay. I was writing it like a play, like a Word document. I was like,
Mm.
okay, so how do I do that? Okay, directing. What's a shot list? What's storyboarding? What are all these things? And I did every master class. I did the Jodie Foster master class, printed. They give you like PDFs. I printed it and made, before I made Meg, I did make another short film called Mulligan. And I just started to like really figure it out and like make it happen, and taught myself. And then, started sharing and growing and evolving. And it also showed me how much I loved it and how much I wanted it, because no one was looking for a film by Katelyn McCulloch. Nobody was like, where's another writer, director, creative chick? Like, there are enough
True.
people out there, but I knew I had something I wanted to say. And then, it's really interesting. Circus just sort of faded really naturally as these other passions picked up. But I always say circus taught me things that I am so thankful for, like pain is only temporary. Circus, because you've tried it, it hurts. It's so painful. Silk squeezing you, bruising you, like all up in
But
the
it
places.
but just like getting through that one class taught me that if I apply myself, I can do anything. And I get it. That's aerial silks. Probably to, I don't know, to the average person, it's like, oh, you took a class, but I got through that class. It's hard. So
It's
it
hard.
challenged me, and it just I felt like, wow, I didn't even think I was gonna get through it. Actually, when I went through the door, I was like, and I saw the women, I was like, yeah, I don't know about this.
I no, and I had to, like, when I started evolving in that space, I think a big part of it at the time was I was young and I didn't have a career yet. So it was something I could control. I could control training to do 15 chin-ups. The fact now I can't even do two, but I could do like 15 chin-ups. But that I got to see in real time when I apply myself. I love how you phrase that. When I applied myself and committed to myself to what I wanted, I could make it happen. And that's where I say like pain is temporary. Now when things are stressful and losing the hard drive is the best example, I don't freak out under pressure. And in the film industry, even when I directed my first short films, no one could believe it was my first movie. And I was making it up as I went. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, but it's just because I stayed so calm. Because in circus, you're 30 feet in the air, hanging by your ankles with no mat. You can't panic. If you panic, you get hurt.
And
So you
and I
have to stay calm.
and I love that you said that, because circus circus life is very different. I mean, it's just and I can't even begin to imagine. But what did it teach you about storytelling, risk, or just trusting your own voice? Because I'm all about my intuition. What did it teach you about that?
That is, your questions are so good. It's like
Oh,
you
well,
do
thank you.
this for a living or something.
Oh,
Um,
been doing it for
you're
a
so
minute.
good. I love it.
Ooh.
I'm so intuitive based too. And I think that's why how I loved you ask that question, because when I started doing circus, everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, you just got a degree in acting. Why are you doing it? But something in my guts told me I need to do this. And I think that's in trusting that and seeing how it really opened so many doors, led me back to acting, into
It's
filmmaking,
a
all these
risk.
things.
You
It
took
was
a
a risk.
risk.
And nobody, and I don't think anyone's doing it to be malicious, but no one can see your path. No one can
Oh,
see what you see. No one can have your vision of your life. So of course to them, they're going to project onto you and go, that's insane. That's such a like, you're diverting from the path. But I'm like,
every
this is the
creator
path.
can relate to what you just said. Every single creator. Because I know that I'll give you an example. When I wrote my first book, I always say it wrote me. I have never written a
Mm,
book. I didn't go to school for journalism. I didn't even know what a proposal looked like, but I was like, I feel something in my gut tells me I need to do this. And as I was writing it, I wasn't even, I can't even tell you, oh, like consciously, yeah, I was writing. Yes, I was, but it was more than that. It was
yeah.
almost like, I, I don't know. It wrote me. I always say that it wrote me.
You were channeling. Like, I do believe that, not to get like woo with it, but I do think about when, there's always overcoming obstacles in any creative process, but there are those moments when you click into alignment and you feel that it writes you. I feel so similar about so many scripts. And that time in the pandemic, I'm really grateful that I had the privilege of being able to stay home and write and, didn't have sick family members. And I was able to really focus on that. And it gave me, I needed that amount of time and space. And now I have to do it quicker because life is really happening around me. But yeah, I think like when I started doing this circus part, I just didn't question the destination. I just
Mhm.
trusted the journey part. And I committed to just being in the moment. And circus teaches you that because even from your one class, you can't let go in the air. You can't think about your grocery list. You have to be present. I think it's why so many people right now are doing bouldering. And I'm seeing everyone like, all these things are happening, like, because it helps your anxiety. It soothes you, even though it's intense and it's high risk. It's teaching you to be present and to trust yourself. And that risky part, I mean, no risk, no reward.
Ooh, but I mean, you're talking about being how many feet up in the air?
Yeah, like 30 feet or
I didn't
more.
even I didn't even think of the no mat thing. It's been a long time since I got to the
Yeah.
circus.
Well, and
But
you were doing a class, so you should have a map. But when I was performing professionally, yeah,
but it
it's
I mean, it's just you did it every night, right?
yeah, I was performing all the time and I would, be doing auditions, running around. I was in Toronto at the time and I'd be on the streetcar doing auditions. And then I was gluing eyelashes on the subway and then getting to my gig with my aerial silks and a knapsack, rigging them myself. I did all my own rigging. I
Wow.
really taught myself. I just learned so much independence. And, even with that, you are your own business when you're an independent circus performer. And I still am, I always think, and I'm sure you feel this too, I believe so much that as artists, we need to take ourselves seriously as entrepreneurs because that's what we are at the same time.
100%. And I'm glad you said that because I think we forget we are a business. We
Yes.
do provide a service, whether it's entertainment or, whatever it is, or coaching or providing. We're providing something to someone, even if it's
Yes.
inspiration, motivation.
And that has value. That's something I'm really learning right now. I'd be so curious. Not enough time in this podcast. We'll have to have a coffee after. But I'm really learning that too. I think it's so easy as artists to create something and then not see it through that next level, which is where all my producing instincts kick in, which is okay, I made this amazing thing that so many people worked so hard on. And I believe it has value. Now, how do I get it in front of people? Because that's a whole other component. There's one thing to make it, but then to distribute it, to get eyes on it. And I
Mhm.
don't want to just put it up on YouTube. I want people to invest their money and time in watching it because, I also believe when you put your money where your mouth is a little bit. I'm not charging crazy amounts, but getting it onto a service that people have to subscribe to or, can donate to. I think it's really important we remember as artists that what we're building has value and we're allowed to earn a little money from that. And, I'm not making a bunch of money off of these small things. That is for sure. But just to ask audiences, we're doing a screening of Everybody's Mag season 2. And that's what I'm speaking to right now. That's top of mind is to put this in a movie theater, for me to rent the venue, make this happen, that people can have a nice night out. And that has value.
100%. And I'm glad that it's a great reminder because I know for me, initially, there was so much guilt. I was like, "Oh my God, but I don't want to charge for this, charge for that." But I'm also paying for the production of a podcast. I'm paying for all these things, and bootstrapping it's painful. It's
Yes.
but it's part of what you said. It's you got to put your money where your mouth, you have to
Yeah.
believe in yourself. So I, I think that expressing that and just being a reminder of that, our value, our time, the labor, it all means something. And we are at the end of the day providing something to someone. And sometimes I think it's hard because it's not tangible like a
Yeah.
product, right? So I think it's hard. But
Yes.
I do think that it's important for us to remember that for ourselves. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And I'm like, because you're writing a book and you are writing a podcast. And I do think, one thing that I'm just coming up against and why it's also top of mind is because I really am thinking like, how much is my time worth? And that's fluctuating for me because sometimes I'm so happy to give something for free. I just acted in a friend's film for free because it was her first movie. That is the gift I am so willing to give to support her. But it is fluctuating as an artist. And I think that's why it's never going to be a linear conversation or decision. But going right now, what's that going to cost me emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically to do that? Is it worth it? And I'm just getting really curious and giving myself permission in certain situations to go, no, actually, that isn't enough money for me to do it. I need more. If they can't provide that, that's totally fine.
And
I'm
it, you,
allowed to say no.
And isn't it easier said than done? It's
Oh,
hard. It's so
so hard.
hard. But I think, part of it for me, and I always talk about this, it's years of therapy, but I've
Yes.
had to acknowledge like my worth, my time, like those things mean something. And like you said, it's an investment of yourself. Like you're putting yourself into whatever it is, maybe the project or um whatever, I don't know, project or film. Um, but no, I think we need to do more of that. And I believe being a woman makes it so much harder.
Oh, it is. And especially, in the comedy realm, so many amazing women. I always say I stand on the shoulders of giants. And also there are still mostly men in this space, at least where I'm currently at in Canada, in the East Coast. And I a lot of people can get frustrated. It's easy to get frustrated and want to give up. It brings it back to your hard drive question in that moment. But the way I've just reframed for myself how to move forward is I don't want to waste my time and energy complaining. I want to spend my time and energy making the change, actually being the change. And that is so hard. Of course, I'm being so positive. I'm sharing all the positive things, but I cry often. I'm in therapy too. I deal with anxiety, depression. I've had people I thought were closest to me turn on me. Dealt with betrayal. I've dealt with all of it. No one is immune. This industry,
100%.
making art, doing business is complicated. It's hard with friends. It's hard with new people, different ages, different backgrounds. Like you are always in a collision of so many different bags of people's baggage in one room.
Yeah.
And I just think to myself, and especially being a woman in it, I just am trying to stay really curious around my own reactions. I do have to rewrite my emails to take out the just. Hey, just wondering. No. Hey, is this ready? Period.
Yeah.
Or question mark. And
It's
I'm not being aggressive.
yeah.
I'm just
It's
asking the
so
question.
funny you say that because I've been doing that too.
Good for you.
Oh, and the other one is I'm sorry. I'm sorry I took a long time to reply to your email. I'm sorry for the delayed response. I'm like, I need to stop saying I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm like, you wear 10 hats. You need a minute.
And we come back to the worthiness and value of it all, which is
Yeah.
you're wearing 10 hats. So when it is the appropriate time for you to get back to them, and they're lucky you got back to them, they're as lucky as you are, right? Like it's that instead of always feeling like we're behind, which I do think as a woman, just we could I dig into all the history of feminism. Anyone who's listening, I just did a fake cigarette there. But I do think, it is, we are still new at being able to have businesses, credit cards, mortgages. I read something the other day. It's only been 50 years or something
Isn't
like
that
that since we know to
crazy?
have mortgages without a man. That
I
is not a
know.
long time.
I remember the first time I saw it was a movie, but it was based like I think it was in the 50s or 40s. And there was this woman who could not open up a bank account unless she got permission from her husband. I was like,
Crazy.
"What?" I don't know.
I,
I just it was like shell shock. I was like, "What?"
It is because, and then we're sitting here going, we're wearing all these hats and then feeling behind. It's like, hold on. We're
Yeah.
wearing all the hats because we're learning so many new things that we don't have role models for or only recently have role models for. I'm really close with my mom. I love her so much. And she continues to say to me, like, man, I just wish I had a mom like me for you, which I love that she owns that because it just in terms of she built something so I could do what I wanted to do. I could have her support. I didn't grow up with money. I grew up very like small town. We didn't even have furniture in our living room upstairs, and my mom called it the dance room. And so I would go to other kids' houses being like, "Where's your dance room?" And they were like, "What?" It's our living room. I was like, that sucks. That sucks. Those kids don't have a
Mm.
dance room. And it was my mom just making it positive, and that was a lot of work that she had to do to make that happen. And I never take that for granted. And now I really do think it's something now that, well, like again, the reframe, that word just keeps coming up for me today, but being able to reframe it, but then with that, still acknowledge how much work it still is. And
Yeah.
you're not behind. I'm not behind. And I feel that too all the time, Yvette. I am like, oh man, I know a guy who's 2 years younger than me has 3 feature films done. I haven't even made my first feature. And I go, pause.
He has the
Like,
right body part, man.
yeah. And he's on his own journey and I'm on mine. And Oprah said this on a podcast I listened to once of hers, where she was talking about when the Maury show started and everyone in her office was like panicking. And she said, we're not trying to be the Maury show or Jerry Springer. We're the Oprah show. So we got to double down on what is the Oprah show. And look who lasted much longer than, and, has left a
Yes.
legacy behind.
She's I love her. I love her.
Me
I
too.
met her and it was
You met her?
I have to yeah. It was a
Wow.
Jesus moment for me, by the way. And everyone in this community knows because I'll send you the video. I was literally in tears because what I do, it just she's it. She's like a soul broken open, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
she's changed a lot of people's lives just by telling stories. And
And now you are too.
it's,
Special.
yeah, it is special. It is special. I'll tell you about that day off camera.
Can't
But
wait.
so your work blends chaos, heart, and comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I, everyone knows, I've talked about this. I've had my bouts with depression. I lost my mom, I got sick, and laughter, comedy has been medicine for me. It's been a survival tool. How has it helped you survive in life and even in your career?
Ooh, I just teared up when you
Oh, because
said
girl,
that
watch
because
the news. And if you don't have a sense of humor today, oh my God, you'll
yeah,
need a you'll need a medicine cabinet or
it's
something.
true. You know, I grew up with a very funny family, and a lot of that was avoiding what was really happening. But I'm a Scorpio moon, if you're into astrology, and I have always
Oh,
had this very
we have a lot in
silly.
common.
Are you a
Okay.
Scorpio moon?
No, I'm an Aries. I'm the leader of the pack. Thank you very
Well,
much.
that's it. I'm a Leo sun. So our fire, no
Oh,
wonder fire loves
that
fire.
makes sense.
That makes
Okay,
so
we'll
much
talk. We'll talk.
sense. We'll
Okay.
talk. But I've always been really deep in terms of like really curious about how people are always feeling, what's going on. But I'm so grateful. I grew up in a very small town in Nova Scotia in Canada. If anyone doesn't know where that is, and I'm
I
living there
oh,
now again, which is great. But I grew up in a place where people didn't really talk about feelings. And I was a kid who was like, how are you feeling today? And the response was, that's rude. Don't ask those questions. Like, it was, I would always want to go deep. And I think when I started, I think about my trajectory, and I really felt like in theater school when I studied acting into circus, I really explored a lot of kind of more art house and darker and these things. And it was always fun, but I wanted to be goofy and playful. And I always felt that if I could open people up and make them laugh, I could actually have a deeper conversation. So it started just as a natural way for me, I think, to connect deeper to people. And just the way my personality was, like very performative and playful. And then I realized, oh, people would be gravitate to me and open up and share. And I loved that open up and share part. So I think in my comedy, I really do believe the best comedy comes from our deepest truths. It comes from vulnerability. And in Meg, we're really exploring, we'll just use that as an example. We're really exploring millennial anxiety that everyone has.
Yeah.
And also, of course, people have, real anxiety disorders beyond just kind of that general angst. But I got really curious, myself and Maddie Foley, who I write with, just around what are these moments that we're all experiencing and how can we reflect them back to audiences in ways that help them, one, not take themselves so seriously and feel less alone. Because
Mm.
I've also had my moments of dealing with anxiety and depression, and it gets so, those are the moments where I go, I'm all alone. There's no one understands me. No one gets me in that
Oof.
spiral, that loop that takes me down the dark paths. And I really wanted to make a show. And in all my work, there's always themes of that. There's always a deeper theme. My short film Mulligan is a mother daughter golf comedy. And I always say, really, the theme of that movie is what happens when the people you love the most change. And it's hard for you to accept their change. But
Mm.
on the surface, this is great comedy, but that's what it's rooted in. And then Meg really is, how do you survive in a world that is systemically set up for you to fail? And the ways that we feel then we're failing personally, and we're never living up to a standard that's completely made up, but it's what we were born into. And then how do you, especially as a female, anxious millennial, how do you tackle that? So I think for me, comedy has helped me through all of my darkest times.
Did it help you through that? Well, it sounds like something else did, but did it help you through that hard drive crash?
I think so, yes, because I mean, we just had to laugh. Because what do you, the
Because
option is give up
I mean,
or laugh.
I can't even begin to imagine. But what I have to ask you, because you lean on, not rely, you lean on comedy so much. Where do you go emotionally when the funny is just not enough? Because I know it's not always enough. How do
Mm-hmm.
you manage that?
I feel it's taken a lot of years, and I know it'll take many more. And I love my therapist, Linda. Shout out to Linda. See me already making a joke.
We love our therapist. Yes, I see. Don't deflect.
Yeah, don't deflect. I would say I have an amazing group of girlfriends that we all went through theater school together,
Tribe.
and tribe fully. And whenever I want to go dark, two things happen. One is I force myself to reach out to one of those girls.
Oof.
The other one is find a way to be of service. Find a way to be of service. If I can't do anything else, because I don't know for you as a creative, but I know for me, what happens is like, oh my God, I messed up that. Now I'm behind. Now I'm missing this deadline. Now, and then I'm paralyzed to get the work done. So then I feel worse and worse and worse. But if I just go out and, or if I see, someone's on Instagram moving, do you need help? Do you have this? Even write my boyfriend, say, what do you want for dinner tonight? It doesn't have to be big. Doesn't go buy my cat a new treat, whatever it is, but something that you can feel like you're being of service. Because, and I
Step
heard that on a
outside
pod.
of yourself, right?
Yes. And I got that from a therapist or a podcast or something. I remember the time being like, oh, great. Another thing to do is first what it felt like, a task, another thing I can't accomplish. But then I realize every time it makes me feel better. And I would say actually a third thing is move your body, change your posture, change your spine. I learned it in theater school. It's how you can actually physically change the way you feel. And, with all circus and all that experience, movement is still a huge part of my life. I became a Pilates teacher while I was doing circus.
No.
I did because I wanted to, do injury prevention. And right now, even though I do a lot of things and everyone's like, what are you doing getting another job? But I'm teaching Pilates again. And I need it as a part of my creative process, my mental health, because it brings me everything I just spoke about. I'm of service. I'm present. I'm moving my body. It gives me this reset button where I go, it doesn't matter what's going on the page in my email. 37 bodies have shown up that want to be moved. And I can do that. I have a skill set. I can be of service. And for 45 minutes, I can make their day better. And I always leave that class feeling better too.
Too bad you're not on the East Coast. I need some Pilates.
Well, I visit often, so I'll get over there. I'll do a
Yes.
pop-up for you.
Yes. Yes, for sure. I will be there. Just tell me when.
Yes.
So you're doing so many amazing things, and thank you for sharing so much of you with me during this time. You're also creating, or not creating, but you're shaping space for women in comedy and filmmaking, which is
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautiful. What's your message to women with a dream that feels bigger than their resources? Because you literally took those 40 bucks and borrowed some equipment and said the hell with it. Let's keep going. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've had days, and I mentioned I had to bootstrap, and I'm still doing a lot of it. There are days when I'm like, screw this, like I'm done. And my heart breaks. Like I literally, it's like part of me. And I wake up the next day and or something happens and I'm like, yeah, that's God, the universe telling me you can't give it up. You got to keep going. So what's your advice to, and actually it doesn't even have to be just women, to anyone whose dream is bigger than what they have in their pocket, or maybe, I don't know, what it's I guess the idea is our dreams sometimes are so big that not
Mm-hmm.
only we don't have the money, we don't have the resources, we don't have the equipment, we don't have the training. So what would you say to someone that is like, yeah, I can't do this. Why even bother?
Oh, I have such massive dreams. I'm such a lofty dreamer, and it's
Yay!
so important. I'm like, but then I totally understand that feeling where the big dreams can become paralyzing because it's like, how will I ever get there when it feels so far?
Yeah.
What I ask myself, especially when I have a really big dream or a really big goal, is just what can I do right now? So let's say, worst case scenario, you're depressed in bed. You dream of, I'll just take my dream. My dream is to, show run a half-hour comedy, big studio producers. It's going to be on Netflix. I'm going to write it. I'm going to direct it. I'm going to show run. It's going to be amazing. We're saying it here. We're manifesting it now. But let's say I'm having one of those days where I'm in bed and I'm going, oh my God, I'm so far from the dream. In that moment, maybe the only step towards the dream is getting out of bed
Mm,
and brushing your teeth and putting on your favorite comedy movie. That's a step towards the dream.
I just
Then
got
let's say
chills.
you're not in one of those like lowest moments. Maybe it's because listen, I made all of my projects with no friggin' money. Like everyone, I always say because they look so good, but it was calling on favors. It's building community. It's asking for help. I'm rejected every day. Every day. I'm like, do you
Let's
want to
count. How
donate?
many times are we rejected every day?
Yes. And I think though it's, in a world right now with social media, everybody's accessible. You can find anybody on the friggin' planet. You really can if you want to talk to them. So even right now, I'll give an example. I'm trying to find corporate sponsorship for my company to grow my business because I don't get paid yet to run my business. I'm like paying for the expenses and I'm like not in debt. I've never taken out a loan. I'm like, okay, I'm doing really good for 2 years into my business. But how do I work
Yeah.
towards, I've hired someone finally to help me, which has been amazing. But how do I work towards expanding? And I'm looking at what I offer. Now, corporate sponsorship, I'm going, okay, it scares me and I'm very ballsy. I'm brazen. I'll ask for anything. But I go, what are 3 emails I could send today? 3 people that I can send this package to. And I think when people are really beginning and let's say it is filmmaking, you got to start to find your people. And they're not the people who are 40 years ahead of you. Who's right in the trenches with you, who has the same tenacity, work ethic, passion, drive, vision? Go find them. And it might be hard, but let's say I'm thinking comedy specific here. Go to an improv show. That's a $10 improv show. Then go to the bar after or wherever. Go up to a stranger and say, hey, I'm just trying to connect. It's amazing what can happen when you do that. And yes, it is scary. And yes, it is vulnerable, but so is admitting you have a big dream. So to achieve it, what are you going to do today to work towards it and be okay? Again, I think, it's same as what I said earlier, that it's not necessarily linear. One day you may make a huge swing and the next day it's just read a
Not
chapter
even
from
the
that book on
next day,
comedy.
it's like the next week. It's like crickets. Like, I've had
Yes.
crickets this week. Like, oh my
Well, and do
god.
you find this too? I think it is also being a woman, and I love astrology, and as a woman who menstruates, all this. It's like I believe in following your cycles and the moon and all
And
the
the
things, and being like
retrograde.
the retrogrades, and just going, hey, this is a week that I don't need to be in intense action. And I say that like it's easy. I do struggle when I've had a week where I go, oh my God, I did not achieve as much as I wanted to, because I am definitely a high achieving. I have a lot of energy, as we're all noticing on this podcast. But I enjoy putting that energy into work. I actually, this is a fun little anecdote. I directed a show recently called Doggy DNA. And it's this very wholesome lifestyle show where people bring their dogs on and they get the test results. And it's a very sweet, fluffy show. But there is a woman there who's like an expert, and she talks about the different dog breeds. And one thing she said is she was talking about working dogs. So I'm sitting here directing and I'm taking notes. And she talks about working dogs and how they're unhappy if they're not getting to burn their energy out. They want to be challenged. They want to, and it's so funny because I'm not a dog person. I don't have a dog, but I was listening going, a working dog. Because
Oh.
I get energy from being put to work, but that's not everybody. Some, and so it's just finding out like what animal are you, and then learning how to work with yourself. Your path won't look like mine or yours or anybody else's. You might not have the crazy amount of energy that I have, but that doesn't mean you'll be any less successful or any less productive or diligent or amazing.
And I think giving yourself grace, giving yourself
Mm.
time, because Rome was not built in a day. Listen,
Oof.
I am still exploring who I am. I know what I was put on earth to do. I do. And it's taken me forever. But but I do know that the things that are worthwhile take time. Unless,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you have a genius stroke of luck and that happens. Or the other thing is when people say, "Oh, it happened overnight." Well, overnight success. I'm like, yeah, that's not the norm. That's maybe 1%.
And even
No
an
pun
overnight
intended.
success, there's normally 10 years of other work that happened for that little thing to click. Choices made, decisions made, leaving relationships, cutting out people. Like we don't know
Right.
necessarily went on in their inner life or their inner working to make that happen. Cause I don't even believe in an overnight success. I'm like, there's no way.
Listen, it's a process, and
Yeah.
I think the hardest part is trusting the process.
It so is. And I actually, it's funny. I needed to hear what you just said about time, because I feel like
You're
how have I grown the company bigger? Why haven't I done more? And I actually really appreciate you saying that, because I have to remember there is no clock ticking. There is no timeline. And I know that, and I speak about it, but even I forget it. So thank you for the reminder. I definitely needed to hear that this week.
Trust me, I need the reminder a few times a week.
Yep.
So, one of the things that I love to do towards the end of the show is drop a truth bomb. So,
Oof.
I have a question for you. We don't really meet, and it's funny because we were just kind of touching on it. We don't really meet our strength when things go right. We meet it when everything falls apart. What did the moment of the crash reveal? And it could be any crash, like in life.
Mhm.
What does it reveal about you that you didn't know before? Drop a truth
Ooh, I
bomb.
love again, such a good question. You're so good at this. She's such a writer, people. Um, yes, I would say this wasn't the hard drive crash, but I'm thinking of a different crash. I won't get into all the details of because we need a whole other podcast. But
Exactly.
I would say, this touches back to what we were saying about being women as well in this industry. I have learned how fucking smart I am. And I say that because I'm such a creative and I'm really, playful. And I realized one thing over the last 5 years. I always go, oh, well, I don't do that. Or, oh, I don't do numbers. Oh, I don't this. But yes, I do. Yeah, no, I hire my bookkeeper, I hire my accountants, I hire people to help, of course. But I am smart and I know what I'm doing. And I have, I'm a really generous person. And I have learned where generosity has led me to a crash, multiple crashes, mini crashes to a big crash, because I feel this need to overgive, overshare, and thinking if I do that, I can control the other person. I can make them see it my way. I can make them understand me. And then I've realized that oversharing, that over generosity was actually a way my ego was trying to control a situation and control an outcome. And I have learned from that I do not need to give everything away to own my power or to take up space. It's actually quite the opposite. It's in boundaries, honoring my own intelligence, honoring my own creativity and talent. That's where I actually find my true, grounded, authentic voice and power. And it's taken a lot of learning. This is a very new lesson, also. I'm sharing. The fact you asked this question, I was like,
I just literally started practicing boundary setting. I want to say less than a year. I
mm-hmm.
would give it all away, the house, the kid, like everything. Because
Everything.
I wanted you to like me.
Yes.
I wanted to, or like you said, I thought by being nice and being easygoing and flexible that I could get what I want. That's bullshit.
Bullshit.
I don't want to negotiate. Not that I'm saying, and I don't want to negotiate who I am. I can
Mm-hmm.
compromise, but I won't negotiate who I am.
Oh, I love that. I can compromise, but won't negotiate. I'm going to write that down after. I love that. She's a no, I love that. And I think that's it. I think you just really said that so
And
eloquently
kudos to
because
my therapist. Thank you very much.
we love our therapists. Shout out to the therapists. But I really do feel that it is so a people pleasing thing. And it's only a very recent discovery that was really humbling to discover, which is when I just said that ego part, because I think it's so easy when you're people pleasing to also somewhere deep down, not this was never conscious. This is really new learning and articulating it, which I can even feel my own brain sorting it out here, but I think it's relatable. I think a lot of people are probably sorting this
100%.
out in themselves too. But I really realized that, yeah, in the people pleasing and the oversharing, I was I was enabling other people to treat me poorly. And also I did think, but again, so subconsciously, you just said it though. I thought I could get what I wanted, which mostly for me is I want people to see what I see. I want them to get it. I want them to think it's a good
Mm,
idea, to invest in it, and then it's like, but I actually can't control that. They're going to buy in or not. They're going to believe in me or not. They're going to believe in the show or not. They're going to do their hard work or not. I can't control that part.
mm,
And that has been really interesting, deep work because I want to swoop in and save someone. When I see something going wrong, I'm like, but if they're not asking me for advice, if they're not coming to me ready for that, it's just a waste of my time and energy.
And let's remember it's constant practice because we're so conditioned to be that way. I know for me,
Mm-hmm.
I am. That if
Me
I
too.
don't check myself now and then, easily I can go right back to that pattern. And I
Yep.
know that. So it's constant like checking in on myself. And this also comes from my therapist. sometimes you have to keep checking those boundaries too.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, I have a boundary and I have to just make sure it sticks. It's no, you have to keep kind of revisiting and seeing
Mm-hmm.
what those boundaries are and how they fit into your life.
Yes.
So it's just constant learning. It's constant evolving. It doesn't stop.
No. And I think too with boundaries, recently I was, which is sparking all this kind of crash question. So which I love that we're sharing. I love sharing it, even though it's super vulnerable. I love sharing it when I'm in just coming out of it. Cause I'm sure you feel just having this podcast, then someone else might hear it when they're in that moment and go, okay, like I'm going to be okay. But I remember saying to a friend, because they were saying, but your boundaries, your boundaries. And I said, I'm so tired. I can't even uphold my boundaries right now.
I
And when I
know.
said that out loud, I went, so what do I need to do?
Yeah.
I don't need to email back right now because I actually don't have the energy to email back or make that phone call or do that thing. I need to go to sleep. I actually need to go off the devices, cut the reality TV, get the protein in the belly, get the walking in before I actually can take any action in terms of what the conflict or the issue or the scenario is. If I'm too tired to pull my boundaries, I need to step back. And to our previous point earlier, I don't owe anybody a timeline. I'll get back to them when I'm able to meet that moment from a place where I'm boundaried and is my highest and best, which even your highest and best isn't always your highest and best. It's just sometimes,
That's your
what you can do
best for
that
the
day,
day. For that
best for the day.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
I found like burnout is so common in this industry. And I realized, it's never the work that burns me out. It's actually,
People.
I think a lot of the more interpersonal, beyond just my work, but life, like that's kind of what I find drains me more. I don't
Yeah.
know about
Oh,
you.
oh, oh man. This is a whole nother episode. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
come back. You're gonna
I would
have to
love to.
come back. Katie, thank you so, so much for being here today. I want to make sure people can find you. They can find everybody's Meg. So share with us your socials and all that good stuff.
Yes. So Everybody's Meg will be available in the US November 27th on Trailer Park Boys Plus, which is a streaming service you can access through your smart TV, or I think it's Amazon Prime, Crave, all that stuff. So look it up. You'll be able to watch season 1 November 27th, and season 2 will be on the streaming platform in the new year. And this is our first time going worldwide. So it's very exciting that we've been only
Congrats.
available in Canada. So this is really big for us. You can find heyoldfriend.com where you can stay up to date. We throw a big event called Shenanigans, which we did in LA last spring that was sold out. We're doing one in Halifax. We just put tickets on sale yesterday and we're already 50% sold out. So we're doing one in Toronto. We'll be doing another one in LA. And Shenanigans is a night where we curate funny, feel good, and female driven short films. So if you got a short film, send it to me. Anybody listening, if you have a funny, feel good short film, send it my way. Maybe it'll end up in one of my screenings. I don't charge women screening fees. I take their films for free. They get free photos, merch, publicity. It's a night making women feel like the star of their damn lives, which they are. And then on socials at McCullough K and at hey.old.friend.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. This has been an amazing conversation.
And for those of you taking all this in, remember, maybe strength isn't who you are when things work. Maybe it's who you choose to be when they don't. Until next time, keep dropping those truth bombs. I'll talk to you soon, loves. Bye.